A month before the wedding, my girlfriend's white moonlight returned to China. During this period, she was often absent-minded, and I found the message she sent to her best friend on her mobile phone. I miss him a little, but I'm going to marry Zhou Jiahao. Actually, I'm a little tired of my current life. He has to get married. On the wedding day, she was stopped outside the door by the security guard and told that non-relatives were not allowed to enter. She asked me angrily why. I smiled indifferently and hugged the bride beside me. I'm tired of your life, so I changed my bride. 1. When I worked overtime until late at night and came home, Song Yan was lying on the sofa watching TV series, holding Yang Zimanlu in her left hand and Lashur in her right hand. She is in a good mood. I'm back. Cook quickly. I'm starving to death. I looked up at the clock hanging on the wall. It was 9 o'clock. He looked at Song Yan, who was addicted to watching the drama, and said, "Why didn't the wedding planning company call you?" "Oh, I was a little busy this morning, so I didn't check my phone." "What did you do?" I asked her while changing my shoes. Song Yan's hand holding the milk tea paused and answered in a hurry after a few seconds. "Well, I went out for dinner with my best friend." "What about the invitation? Didn't we make an mise to send it out today?" I don't know if she was annoyed by my question. Song Yan impatiently threw the potato chips on the table. She looked up at me with resentment and frowned slightly. "Isn't it just an invitation? Just give it to them in 2 days." I smiled self-deprecatingly. Marriage is such an important thing, which is like a child's play in Song Yan's eyes. "What's up to you?" I reached out and rubbed my unopened eyebrows and sighed tiredly. "What do you mean by do you want? What's your attitude, Zhou Jiahao? Don't you just forget it?" Song Yan's voice is getting louder and louder, and she looks like she wants to quarrel with me. I looked straight at her eyes. "Can you forget such an important thing as marriage?" The other party suddenly fell silent with a guilty heart. "Is it necessary to lose your temper about this kind of thing? I'll tell you that your attitude is very wrong now." "I didn't lose my temper. I'm asking you something. Why don't you answer me?" Song Yan still grabbed my attitude and didn't answer my question directly. I didn't continue to go around with her. I went into the room and closed the door, leaving Song Yan alone in a daze. Soon I heard the sound of the glass breaking to the ground outside, and I knew that she was losing her temper again. I usually take the initiative to coax her and obey all her demands. But I'm tired today. Lying in bed, the message she sent to my best friend still lingers in my mind. Especially the sentence, "He has to get married." It turned out that I thought the two-way wedding was my one-man show. Soon I heard Song Yan slamming the door and leaving. When I woke up early in the morning, I was woken up by the movement of the suitcase. The sound was so loud that I seemed to hear it on purpose. Song Yan ran away from home again. I opened the door with sleepy eyes. Song Yan stretched out her hand and pushed me away, walking in the direction of the wardrobe. I quietly watched her pack up, opened her mouth but didn't say anything. "You also talk about getting married, delusional." When she passed by me, Song Yan glared at me fiercely. "My best friend is right. I'm so beautiful. Why should I give you such a dogman a chance? What a waste of my 5 years of good youth." Song Yan packed up her things faster and faster. Finally, she covered the suitcase hard and turned around and scolded me. "You went to see your white moonlight yesterday, didn't you?" Perhaps because of the grit, the clothes in Song Yan's hand suddenly fell to the ground. "I don't understand what you are saying." I continued to ask again. "Do you still have him in your heart? I've seen you. Why are you lying to me?" She suddenly threw away her clothes and came straight to me, with 2 clusters of anger in her eyes. "What are you doing, Zhou Jiahao? Don't think about it, don't you? Don't think about it, break up." I turned my eyes away and felt that she was unusually noisy at this moment. The more she avoids, the more sure I am of the answer in my heart. Let's break up. 2. This feeling of making up your mind to break with the person you have loved for many years is heartbreaking. "What are you talking about? Say it again." I said, "Let's break up, Song Yan." Song Yan's pupils wrinkled. She looked at me indisbelievably, and her face became stiff. In the past, she was the only one who broke up with her, and I took the initiative to bow my head to coax her. This is the first time I have broken up with her in so many years. Scumbag. Break up and break up. Who misses you? Don't regret it. Song Yan pulled the suitcase and left without turning her head. She thought she acted well in her angry look, but in fact the unconcealed smile on her face had long been seen by me. The person who wants to break up has always been her. I was busy for the wedding alone. But since Song Yan knew that her white moonlight came back, she has always been absent-minded and doesn't care about our marriage. The so-called entering the temple of marriage together is just my one-man show. I scanned the things at home for a week. Song Yan only took her own clothes with her, and many of her things in double supply she bought from the internet were still in the same place. Song Yan was sure that I would take the initiative to find her in less than 3 days, so she was fearless. After I finished washing, I packed up all the things she didn't take away and sent them back to her home. I asked someone to find Song Yan's company for her. She won't be too busy to answer the phone at all. She went to see his white moonlight yesterday, which happened to be seen by my friend. Her white moon visited Guming and flew back from England at the end of her academic career. The first old friend she met was Song Yan. After a long time they met again and talked and laughed when they met. I heard that you are getting married. How can it be? That's just my suitor who wants to marry me. It makes you laugh, hee. That is. You don't have a boyfriend yet. My friend retelling me word by word what he heard. Many years ago, Song Yan and Guming fell in love with each other. But because of their different academic pursuits, they can only separate with regret. I thought that after so many years, Song Yan had long forgotten this person. I can't believe that those words that sting my heart are the sincere words of the pillow people I have loved for 5 years. After Song Yan left, I didn't care about her whereabouts anymore. At this moment, she can't wait to be with her white moonlight. The company is going to interview a new customer. In order to make myself busy and think less about emotional things, I took the initiative to take on this task. The person in charge of this interview is Linen, a bright and generous girl. We talked and cooperated happily with each other, and soon reached a consensus. Unexpectedly, when I sent Linen away, I met Song Yan. 3. It was Song Yan who saw me first. She rushed behind me and grabbed my hand. Zhou Jiahao, you said you wanted to break up with me just to be with this vixen, right? Song Yan's crazy possessiveness flared up again. When we were together, she didn't let me contact other women, and she had to report the whole process when talking about business and meeting female customers. I used to think that this was Song Yan's expression of loving me, but now it seems that she is just a monster swallowed up by possessiveness. Linen was also frightened by Song Yan's threatening appearance. He took 2 steps back and was a little stunned in the face of this strange face. I protected Linen behind me, and I took care of Song Yan and turned to Linen and said, I'm sorry, Miss Lin, I need to deal with some personal matters, so I'll send it here today. Linen pulled one side of his hair behind his ear and nodded. Then don't bother, Mr. Zhou. See you next time. After saying that, he turned around and left. What are you pretending to be? If you have the ability, make it clear in person. Song Yan raised her foot to chase Linen, and I reached out and grabbed her. Have you made enough noise? I'm making trouble? No wonder he didn't even get married. Turned out that he hooked up with the vixen. Is Song Yan beautiful with me? You are really hungry. You can eat everything. She was aggressive, and what she said was more and more ugly, which made the melon-eating crowd around her look at us one after another. I took a deep breath and tried to calm down my emotions. Linen is just a new customer of our company, and we have broken up with Song Yan. In the past 5 years, you have never treated me like this today. What did the vixen do to make you like this? I only felt that my eyes were dark. I didn't want to argue with the nonsense Song Yan anymore. I asked my assistant to stop him and left this place of right and wrong in a hurry. Zhou Jiahao, you scumbag. You bastard. Song Yan is still coring behind her. I have gone far away. I can't hear what she said and I don't want to hear it. At night, when I just took a shower and was about to go to bed, Song Yan called me. I didn't plan to pick it up, but Song Yan beat her one after another. If I don't pick her up, she won't give up. Zhou Jiahao, are you still a human? I was confused by this inexplicable curse. Before I could react, she continued. What do you mean by finding someone to dismiss me? Do you think I will take the initiative to ask you for peace in this way? Don't even think about it. You son of a bitch. I can feel that Song Yan is very resentful at this moment, and it's all vented on the phone call with me. But I didn't know that she was dismissed. 4. After hanging up her phone, I dialed the phone of her company manager, who was more helpless than me. Mr. Zhou, I heard that you and Miss Song have broken up, right? Well, it's been half a month. After hearing my affirmative answer, the manager sighed heavily. Then I'm not afraid to say it directly. I was embarrassed to say anything because Song Yan was your girlfriend. But recently, she has asked for leave for 3 days and 2 days, and the arranged work is not good. It is difficult for us to do it, so we have to dismiss her. After clearing out the origin of the matter, I apologized to the manager and sent a message to Song Yan about this matter. But he didn't reply for a long time. When I first met Song Yan, she was just a small employee of our company. The first time I met her, she was in the company's team building. She was drunk by the leader and blushed slightly. She just bumped into me when I came out of the bathroom. I helped Song Yan, who almost fell down, up. When he touched her, a sense of warmth suddenly came from her hand. The girl's soft hair and slightly powdered face in front of me deeply attracted me. But what fascinates me most is Song Yan's frankness and frankness. I will probably never forget the cute and sincere look when Song Yan held her chin and blinked her watery eyes and asked me, "Do you want to be with me?" She doesn't like to order takeaway, so I cook for her in a different way. She said she wanted to travel to England, and I took a month's leave to travel all over the UK with her. She said she wanted a home, and I tried my best to give her the best wedding. My friends around me always asked me, "How can you stand it? WeChat has to reply in seconds, and you have to make a video call to report when you come out to have dinner with your brother." I always shake my head with a smile. The most important thing is that she is happy. I looked at the pictures of us from young to mature on the screen, and finally pressed the delete button. I thought Song Yan would slowly fade out of my life, but soon I saw her again at the door of my house. She pulled the suitcase and was about to open the door to enter my house. She happened to be seen when she came home. "What are you doing?" Song Yan was shocked, but she ignored me. She opened the door and pulled the suitcase and walked inside me. "You are getting bolder and bolder. You haven't coaxed me for so long." She looked at me with her hands around her chest and her eyes cold. I don't understand why Song Yan did this. At this time she could fly with her white moonlight. Didn't I make it clear enough last time? We have broken up. So you are going to be with that vixen? I sighed and didn't care about Song Yan. I don't care. You just want to coax me. You can only be good to me. That woman don't want to get close to you. Do you know who lives in your heart? I looked at her coldly. It's you. Song Yan answered without hesitation. In a trance, I seemed to see Song Yan's radiant appearance when she first confessed to me. Unlike her childishness, her appearance is extremely enchanting, and those fox eyes seem to seduce people's souls. I stared at her starry eyes and asked her, "Do you really like me?" She replied almost without hesitation, "Yes." My thoughts gradually came back and I looked at Song Yan again. Now she has long lost her sincerity and frankness at that time. Go find your Guming and don't leave any regrets. Are you going to break up with me because of this? As for you, Zhou Jiahao, I didn't want to break up with Song Yan like this. After a few quarrels I kicked her out. Zhou Jiahao, you will regret it. 5. She didn't know that she slept soundly that night. I sat beside her and read the chat records between her and her best friend little by little. After taking care of Song Yan for so many years, I still can't compare with her white moonlight. Thinking of the last month that caused Linen to be innocently accused because of me, I took the initiative to invite her to dinner with me, and she readily agreed to me. Last time that girl was my ex-girlfriend. I'm really sorry. Linen was calmer than I thought, and she smiled faintly. It's normal for the relationship not to go well, not to mention that she didn't do anything to me. I can understand. I nodded and smiled at her. Yo, this woman hasn't got it yet, Zhou Jiahao. The extremely familiar voice behind me made my scalp tingle. I already knew who it was without turning my head. Song Yan didn't come alone this time. She was still holding Guming in her hand. I have seen this person twice in Song Yan's mobile phone photo album. One is a group photo of the college team building. Guming stood behind Song Yan with a bright smile. One is a graduation photo of Guming alone, and he is in good spirits. I have never asked her why she had to save his photos with a new mobile phone. What else are you going to do? I looked at Song Yan holding Guming tightly with her hands, and her heart was calm. Let me introduce to you. This is my boyfriend Guming, who has just graduated from the UK. Song Yan smiled proudly and introduced her boyfriend to herself. After saying that, he glanced at Linen, who was sitting opposite me, who was a little uncomfortable, and his eyes were full of contempt. Go away. I'm not interested in your boyfriend. After Song Yan pulled her boyfriend away, I smiled awkwardly at Linen. She also smiled. What are you laughing at? Your ex-girlfriend's vision. Why is it getting worse and worse? Linen looked straight into my eyes and said playfully. I smiled and didn't expect Linen to have such a naughty side. In our jokes, the atmosphere that had just been a little tense suddenly became much easier. After sending Linen home, I received a call from Song Yan's parents asking me to go to their house when I was free. I made it clear to Song Yan's parents about the divorce not long after I broke up with Song Yan. Song Yan has a younger brother who is addicted to esports. Her parents hope that she can marry me early so that she can buy a house for her son and marry him with a dowry. Seeing that the dowry was about to arrive, I suddenly said that I would not get married. The two old men were a little angry and didn't know who to blame. Jiahao, you and Yin are also big, and there must be a degree of conflict, right? How can you say that if you don't get married, you won't get married? Song's mother took my hand and persuaded me solemnly. Auntie, I have broken up with Song Yan, and she already has a new boyfriend. That girl is a nonsense. What a new boyfriend? That guy doesn't want to marry my daughter at all. Auntie only recognizes Jiahao as your son-in-law. Song's mother raised her hand and slapped the table. She was a little angry, as if she didn't like me to mention Guming. She smiled at me as she said, You are nothing more than a person who doesn't have money at home, but Jiahao has money. Song Yan's brother passed by us and said something coldly. Song's mother's face suddenly turned a little red. Son of a bitch. When is your turn to interrupt? Don't you want to be angry with your mother? After accusing her son, Song's mother turned her head and smiled awkwardly at me. Don't mind children who are ignorant. In a word, Jiahao still needs to consider the marriage with our Yanyan carefully. I have asked someone to find a suitable job in esports for my brother. As long as he works hard, the income is still quite considerable. As for me and Song Yan, it's over. Auntie, you don't have to persuade me anymore. I have a firm attitude. For the sake of this, Song's mother was embarrassed to say anything more. They insisted, she said, that marriage was forced, and I let go 39,103. Invited me for dinner, but I refused. 6. As a result, as soon as I got downstairs, I saw Song Yan holding Guming downstairs. By the way, your ex-boyfriend is really blind. I don't want such a beautiful girlfriend. What doesn't he want? It's clear that I don't want him, and I dumped him. Song Yan said to Guming righteously. Okay, you dumped him. Guming looked at her spoiledly, and his eyes were full of tenderness. Song Yan hugged Guming's neck, and the two of them were close to each other. Then remember to pick me up. I want to eat steak tomorrow. Okay. Guming leaned against her forehead, looked at her dotingly, and smiled gently. Song Yan has already had a lover with his white moonlight and finally became a couple. The past 5 years with her are like a joke. In the past, she didn't like to post moments about love. Now every moment is related to his white moonlight, which looks happier than being around me. After reading 2 or 3 of her moments, I deleted all her contact information. My heart suddenly felt empty. Seeing that I haven't found a new girlfriend for half a year, my parents specially arranged a blind date for me. The company hasn't been particularly busy recently, so I promised to come down. My blind date was actually Linen. I was shocked when I saw her, and she was also shocked when she saw me. We didn't expect that the two sides could still meet in this situation. I didn't expect such an excellent Mr. Zhou to need a blind date. You are not the same. We looked at each other and laughed. After getting along with each other, I found that Linen is a calm and gentle girl with a very stable mood. In the past, I was used to Song Yan's careless personality, and sometimes I even thought that all girls were like this. But Linen gave me a feeling of deep water, which was very reassuring. We left each other's contact information and left separately. Linen refused my request to send her home. I'm very happy to have dinner with you today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Linen's chestnut curly hair rose with the wind in the beautiful night, and her eyebrows were full of the spring breeze. Okay, go back and be safe. After saying goodbye to Linen, it was still early. I chose a closer road and planned to walk home. I met Guming again. This is the second time I have seen Guming since the last time I met Song Yan. Honey, I don't think it will take a month for me to go back on this business trip. Don't miss me too much. I know. I'll go back to accompany you and the baby after a while. Guming was on the phone and didn't notice that I was passing by behind him. I couldn't help frowning when I listened to him talking to the person on the other end of the phone. I asked someone to briefly investigate Guming's background. If you don't check it, you will be shocked. This person is not a British international student at all. Most of the beautiful him in Song Yan's mouth was fabricated by Guming himself. Not long after graduating from college, Guming returned to his hometown to get married and gave birth to a daughter. Half a year ago, Guming came here on a business trip and unexpectedly found that Song Yan still had herself in her heart, so she directed and acted in a drama about returning from studying abroad. The so-called love between the two is just Song Yan's wishful thinking. I wanted to tell Song Yan about this matter, but thinking that we have been apart for half a year, I have also deleted her contact information, which dispelled this idea. This is her own choice. 7. When I came home from work, I saw a figure sitting quietly on the sofa with an extremely haggard face. Today is Song Yan's birthday. I don't know why she is here. 5 years ago today, I celebrated my birthday with Song Yan for the first time. I asked her what kind of gift she wanted. She smiled and then said to me with a smile, I want to travel around the world. Well, this is a little difficult to achieve for the time being. When I was thinking about how to realize her wish, she suddenly circled around me. Her smile was very bright, and her bright eyes bent into a beautiful crescent shape at this moment. Wish come true. Zhou Jiahao is my whole world. It was such rustic love words and such a simple scene, but I fell deeply into it, and I couldn't wait to give her all my life. Time went by, and she was in a mess sitting on the sofa at this moment. How did you come in? You didn't change the password. I saw her red eyes and messy hair through the dim light. Today Song Yan came to Guming's house with joy, sketching in her mind how to celebrate her first birthday after a long-lost reunion. Song Yan wore a cake skirt and happily went to see Guming. She pushed the door open, but Guming the wife looked at each other, and Guming, who was standing next to his wife, was sweating profusely and did not dare to take a breath. Who is she? The two people said almost in unison. No honey, listen to my explanation. It's not what you think. Even if Guming has one more mouth, he can't explain the situation at this moment. The wife soon realized that the relationship between Song Yan and Gu Ming was not simple, and her face suddenly became extremely ugly. First, she grabbed Gu Ming's collar and questioned, "I asked you who she is." Gu Ming's wife had a strong family background. When Gu Ming went to that city alone to work hard, she gave Gu Ming a lot of help. It can be said that Gu Ming can make this achievement in his career today without his wife's help behind his back. Therefore, Gu Ming is very obedient to his wife. When Song Yan saw that her white moonlight was suppressed like this, she went up to protect Gu Ming without thinking about it. As a result, she was slapped fiercely by the master and made her kneel directly on the ground. Conspicuous red palm prints soon appeared on the white and flawless face, and the skirt that shone in the moonlight was also dirty. But Song Yan is not easy to mess with. "How dare you beat me, an old pearly bitch." Song Yan also ignored the pain on her face. She stood up and wrestled with Zhou Jiahao, pushed the other party to the ground, and soon gained the upper hand. But what she didn't expect was that Gu Ming rushed up and slapped Song Yan. Song Yan covered her face and froze in place, and tears couldn't stop flowing down. She couldn't believe that the man who told her yesterday that he would love her for the rest of his life beat her mercilessly today. "Gu Ming, you! Who let you beat my wife, you bitch?" Gu Ming hurriedly helped his wife up. At this moment he seemed to have changed, and he didn't look as docile and considerate when he was with Song Yan. "She is your wife, so what am I? I asked you what I am." Song Yan, who realized that she had become a junior, almost collapsed. "You vixen, don't seduce me anymore. If my wife miscarries, I won't be with you." How could Gu Ming, who has a stable career and a happy family, choose to divorce his wife and spend the days with Xiao San who can't see the light? At this moment, Song Yan finally saw the true face of the white moonlight in her heart. After saying that, Gu Ming helped his wife leave, leaving Song Yan alone in a daze. "Everything is so sudden." 8. Song Yan looked up at me, smiling. "Do you also think I'm ridiculous that I made myself so embarrassed on my 27th birthday? When I was with Song Yan, I was so heartbroken when she shed 2 tears. In my eyes, there is almost nothing more important than Song Yan's happiness. When Song Yan was a newcomer to the workplace, she was always secretly molested by the leader because of her appearance. Other employees in the company even said that she wanted to rely on her relationship to rise to the top, which was shameless. Song Yan nestled in my arms and cried, "Those old things are ugly and ugly. Why did I seduce them? Whoa, whoa, whoa." I hugged Song Yan tightly in my arms and felt her thin shoulders trembling constantly. Soon, I dismissed the leaders of the company who were pregnant with ghosts and those employees who did not pay attention to their work at all. Song Yan's mood was as happy as revenge. As soon as she got home and opened the door, she rushed into my arms and gave me a warm and powerful hug. "I'm so cute, baby." My heart was also melted with her lovely behavior. Now that I see Song Yan's tears like broken pearls, my heart is as calm as water, as if I have lost something. "It's getting time. Go back to rest early." Hearing what I said, she cried harder and kept twitching. "Jiahao, I was wrong. Let's make up. Forgive me." "Okay. I'm with Gu Ming just to make you angry. How can I not love you?" Song Yan stood up from the sofa and tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. "In any case, we can't do it anymore." She froze in place, as if she couldn't believe that the person who had taken care of her in every way could be so alienated from her. She suddenly began to cry loudly. All the grievances broke out together at this moment. The more she suppressed it, the more tears surged, as if the whole world had collapsed with her. I couldn't help but want to reach out and wipe the tears on her cheeks, but I didn't want to give her hope, so I could only stand still and stare at her. I don't know how long she cried. She raised her hand to wipe away the tears on her face, and her lips trembled slightly. "Zhou Jiahao, I won't give up." She seemed to have made some kind of determination. After saying that, she bypassed me and left without giving me a chance to react. 5 years of love has been wasted, and my heart is not made of stone. How can I not be sad? But people always have to move forward, and Song Yan and I have long been unable to go back. Not long after Song Yan left, I happened to hear that the employees of the company were discussing each other. "Mr. Zhou's ex-girlfriend is really not a fuel-saving lamp, isn't it?" In the past, he relied on Mr. Zhou's liking for her, thinking that he was so noble that he looked down on people. This time, the employees of Party A were hurt by her. It took a few twists and turns to figure out the origin of the matter. Song Yan stopped Linen, who had just left work, downstairs of Linen's company 2 days ago. "Don't rob my boyfriend anymore. Don't think that you will like you just with a little beauty. Stinky little third. You are shameless." Linen was scolded by Song Yan. "I don't understand what you're saying. Miss Song, please don't slander me. You are still sophistry. I don't know that you think you seduced Jiahao." Just after work, everyone came out of the company and gathered up to eat melons when they saw this scene. Oh my god, I didn't expect Linen to have such an unknown side. I can only say that people don't look good. Everyone gathered around them and discussed. Song Yan was carried away, but Linen was speechless and could only shake off Song Yan and leave in embarrassment. 9. Linen didn't go to work these 2 days. I pulled Song Yan out of the blacklist and took the initiative to call her to ask her out to meet her. You took the initiative to find me. I knew it must be the vixen who disturbed your heart. As soon as Song Yan met, she ran over and took my hand, and her eyes flashed with light. I frowned. Song Yan, are you crazy? It's over. How many times do you want me to say it? This has nothing to do with Linen. I turned up the volume and almost roared at her. I tried to stay calm, but my inner uneasiness and excitement surged up like a rough sea. Song Yan's smile became a little stiff. You actually yelled at me. What medicine did that woman give you? So what's our 5 years? The sadness and pain that had been suppressed in the bottom of my heart for a long time gushed out, and I smiled bitterly. I shouldn't have asked you this question, right? I'm not good enough for you. As soon as he comes back, you follow him. Is your heart with me for a moment? Have you ever explained a sentence to me? I approached her step by step and asked her question by sentence. There was a burst of heartache for no reason, and every breath was accompanied by severe pain. Jiahao, I was wrong. Forgive me, okay? I will never leave you again. I calmed down my emotions and looked at Song Yan, who was a little humble. Don't talk about this anymore. You should immediately go to Linen Company to apologize to her publicly. You know how powerful the rumor is. I don't want it. Song Yan raised her head proudly and refused to give in. Then I'll ask Linen to call the police directly. You. She still didn't give in. No matter what I said, when it came to Linen, she always showed a high-ranking posture. I really called the police for Linen. When she saw her again, she was sitting with her head down in the police station to receive criticism and education from the police. Originally, the police station intended to detain Song Yan for 3 days. But Linen asked for a private reconciliation, and only asked her to apologize publicly. The incident ended with Song Yan blushing and taking the initiative to apologize to Linen in the company in front of everyone. Before leaving, Song Yan found me again. She was a little depressed and slowly raised her eyes to look at me. Jiahao, can't we really go back to the past? I know I was wrong. I took advantage of the company's activities and invited Linen to go on a trip together to relax, and she soon agreed. She is in a much better mood than some time ago. She said that she was busy with work and hadn't traveled for many years. I couldn't help sneering at her, holding a handful of sand tightly in her hand and trying to build a castle with the sand with her own hands. She is like a serious child. I'm really sorry to cause you so much trouble some time ago. It's all over. Don't mention it. Linen wore a red dress and walked slowly by the sea shoulder to shoulder with me. At this time she was beautiful and touching. Perhaps the two people were silent for too long, and Linen took the initiative to speak. How are you and Song Yan? It's over. What about us? I was caught off guard by Linan's sudden question. Linen suddenly smiled happily and became more and more beautiful and touching. When I first met you, I thought you were special and gave people a sense of security. It's a pity that you were still with your ex-girlfriend at that time. But now that you are done, I think my chance has come. 10. Linen is more proactive and bold than I imagined. She stopped, turned around and looked at me. There was inexhaustible tenderness in her clear eyes. She put her hands on my shoulders and moved her eyes from my eyes to my lips little by little. Suddenly, something soft and cool pressed on my lips, which was soft and strange to the touch, light and tentative. My brain is blank for a moment. Slowly, I took the opportunity to put my around her waist and gave a positive answer. Later I married Linen. Linen is very interested in our wedding. She has to handle everything by herself, from what kind of calligraphy and painting to put at home, to what kind of people to invite to our wedding reception. After marriage our life is smooth, happy and sweet. I saw Song Yan again a year later. When I was accompanying Linen to the hospital for an obstetric examination, I happened to meet Song Yan, who was in a trance at the gate of the hospital. Jiahao, long time no see. She greeted me first. Hearing this familiar voice, I couldn't help but stop and follow the sound. Long time no see. She lost a little weight, and her waist-length hair was also cut to her shoulders, making her whole body look thinner. I hardly recognized her. Song Yan came to have an abortion. When he met someone who was not good, the man made Song Yan's stomach bigger. But he didn't want to be responsible. He left the city overnight and deleted all his contact information with Song Yan. He met me as soon as he came out of the hospital after the operation. When she told me about her experience this year, the expression on her face was light, and there was no anger in her words, only helplessness. I can no longer see the figure of the girl who was like a rabbit in her. I haven't asked you yet. What are you doing here? I'm here to accompany my wife to have an obstetric examination. Linen. Her eyes became empty, as if her soul had been drained. She suddenly squeezed out a forced smile at me. If those things hadn't happened, You should have accompanied me for an obstetric examination now. Don't mention the past anymore. I avoided her gaze. Soon I received the news that Linen asked me where I had gone. So I hurriedly ended the conversation with Song Yen, turned around and walked into the hospital. The girl behind her quietly looked at my figure getting farther and farther away from her. Tears quietly ran through the corners of her eyes without knowing it, and there was endless melancholy in her eyes. Sorry, Jiahao. I don't think I'm really qualified to say I love you. I don't know how long it took. The girl lowered her head and turned away silently. Maybe she was unwell after the operation, and every step she took was painful and difficult.